Hello, buddy boyos. It's Jay Tahoe here, and I am back from my little vacation this weekend, and I feel refreshed and ready to go and ready to poke some holes with logic and reasoning and everybody's favorite theory. So, yeah, that was well needed. By the way, I love these little, I call these the Zoom Zooms in the airport. They're almost like treadmills on the floor that, get you to the next place, which is pretty cool. Love those. Anyway, oh, yeah, and also I saw a lizard. Isn't this guy pretty cute? Yeah, he's pretty cute. Saw him down in Florida in Fort Lauderdale. Anyway, on with today's video. Damn, that's fabulous. Alright, so the topic of today's video is in support of my hypothesis that sociological programming and the pressures of society override the biological imperative, and that the true root cause for the black pill and the prevalent uptick in lookism is due to sociology, more so, rather than biology. So, the point of this video, we're going to be looking at a few examples of how we as a species, as human beings, actually deny our biological imperative quite a lot, more so than any other species, right? So, you have Dante who's saying that, peacocks, mate in a certain way, and humans are animals. Humans are sexually dimorphic animals, peacocks are sexually dimorphic animals, therefore we must, employ similar mating practices. But he's simply ignoring a lot of variables, which we're going to discuss today. So let's talk about how human beings, often live a sociological imperative over biological imperatives, even of the most basic biological needs. Let's take a look. So, as we know, the United States' involvement in World War II began when Japan bombed Pearl Harbor, and part of the way that they did this was with kamikaze pilots, so suicide pilots who crashed planes into battleships purposely and knew that they were going to die. Now, from a purely biological standpoint, right, what are the most basic needs that any organism has? It's, breathing, food, water, shelter. The most basic biological imperative is to continue living, to maintain homeostasis. It's not even, to mate, to reproduce. The most basic and first and foremost need is, to continue living. That's a biological imperative. So, as you can see, here's the problem with the kamikaze pilots is that they clearly denied this imperative. So why would they do that? Why would anybody in their damn right mind do that? Well, they were brainwashed. They believed that they were fighting for their emperor, who they believed was a god. So, they actually denied their biological imperative so much that they took their own life because they believed that they were doing something good. We're not in their heads, but, you don't just sacrifice your life voluntarily unless you really have gumption and believe in what you're doing. So, clearly, the biological imperative, because human beings have complex psychology and can put biological imperatives aside, right? We can actually put instinct aside. It's still there, but we can put it aside. We have control over it. So this shows that sociological programming can actually override biological hardwiring in many cases. So how is this relevant, to the black pill and lookism, you might ask? Well, let's look at this data from Business Insider showing the average age of first-time mothers since 1980. As you can see, the trend is going up. Now, BP 2021 and I have touched on this before, that, if women were purely following a biological imperative, we would see the age of fertility, remain the same, since we know that prime fertility is around 16 through 23. So clearly, they're not following a biological imperative here, because we know that as you get into your 30s, the likelihood of a birth defect increases. So if they were truly trying to have the most genetically fit offspring, they would want to do so, earlier. But this just isn't the case, and there's actual statistical data to prove it. Pew Research confirmed the same thing, that the average age of fertility actually, and this is, since 2012, the average age of fertility now is getting close to 29, so it's only continuing to increase. Women are waiting until their 30s to have children, which from a biological standpoint doesn't make sense. So right there, that's very problematic for the black pill to say, oh, women always follow this biological imperative and she's only going to chase Chad. Clearly, this is not the case. Now, you might make the argument, that there's been an increase in the use of birth control, and, that causes women to behave differently. But they consciously choose to go on the birth control, and they know that it can cause, imbalances in hormones, which can lead to different behaviors. So, again, we're in control of the biology. And that's, you could say, well, oh, this is how it works in nature. This is just nature, guys. But the fact is, right, is that man is always coming up with ways to tame nature. It's what man has done, right? I mean, do other species build cities? Do other species, unfortunately cut down rainforests? Do they, build lumber? No, they don't do it. They live in nature while man tries to conquer nature. So to say that we behave, in the same way or live the same way the animals do is flawed and erroneous. So what is the variable here that Dante, Inkwell TV, and Face and LMS are leaving out? It's the complex psychology of human beings. Gorillas and chimpanzees have opposable thumbs as too, but, you don't see them dominating the planet in the way that humans do. What has allowed us to do this? What is different? What's the variable? It's our ability to reason. It's our ability to use logic. It's our ability to think and plan and manipulate our environment. And they're just not accounting for that goes into mate selection and behavior as well. What I think will eventually happen with the biological lookism narrative in the black pill, right? Because I'm not saying that things haven't gotten harder for men, but I'm saying that my hypothesis is that the root cause is sociological rather than purely biological. What I think will happen is that the same thing that will happen to the science of phrenology will happen. For those of you who aren't familiar with Joseph Franz Gall, he created the science known as phrenology in the 1800s, which is today discredited as a pseudoscience. The science of phrenology basically said that we can determine the behavior and personality of people based on their skull shape. Now, why was phrenology discredited? Because the leading experts, the scientists, couldn't agree on which skull shapes, which mental organs. They couldn't agree on any of it, so it led to them not having a unified theory, and it collapsed. And I'm seeing crazy parallels here. I'm actually seeing it is pretty much a direct parallel to the biological lookism narrative, and I think that that's going to go the same way as phrenology did. That's today's video. Thank you for watching, and I'll be back soon with more. Bye, buddy boyos.